Well, here we are fixing the leak on our slide on our RV. We got a leak that got at the one side of the floor, rotted it out, and so the slide is kind of dipping on that end. We just removed our trim that goes along the outside. You can see it's installed still on the other slide that we just rebuilt. But self-explanatory, it's just screws in the trim. You got to get those out, pull the trim. The aluminum sheets are held in place with staples. You got to get up in there with a screwdriver and try and pry them away. And sometimes it just tears through the aluminum. Not much you can do about it. This end panel is all stapled in too. So now we got this apart. There's a little black board down along the bottom here that is just underneath the toe plate of the wall. So the toe plate of the wall actually hangs over the metal frame that's under here that's run by this carriage. So there's this Darko covered board here. You can see it's stapled on. I'm started pulling it away, and once I get that off, we'll be getting at some screws that come in from the top of the toe plate, goes down into the, there's one, goes down into the floor board. And on this particular trailer, they have a tendency to have put the carpet down first and then built the walls on top of the carpet. So there's going to be a little carpet in between there, and there are carriage bolts between the floorboard, which you can barely see in there, that black Darko covered floorboard. You can see the steel frame right below it. But that I got to get in between here when I release the bolts from underneath on the carriage bolts going into the floor. Jack it up slightly. You got to use a sawzall and cut in between the metal frame and the floor because they're underneath the toe plate, so you're not going to get those carriage bolts out of there. So on to the next step. Nice cross-section view here. Here's our frame, which is driven. You know, the outside frame driven in and out by the mechanism. Carriage bolt, which I'm releasing, goes to the floor here. It's got the Darko on it. And the carriage bolt, you can see, is even pulling the floor down a little bit there. It's under the toe plate of the wall. So I'm going to have to put a board. I got one that I made that goes across the face of the wall here. You have to jack it up a little bit, get in between here, and cut the bolt off with a sawzall. And when we put this all back together, we just drill all the way through and just drill through the toe plate and put the carriage bolt down through the toe plate all the way through and just bolt it together as a sandwich. But you can see the carpet in there. See how they have the carpet down and on top of the floor, probably prefabbed or something, and drop the walls on top of the carpet. So that's why you get a lot of wood damage in a lot of situations, because the water just travels through the carpet here with the leaks and stays wet and makes your toe plates nice and mushy. These are of course in real good shape over in the back side here. Here we got our scissors jack set up to lift the corner of the slide, you know, back here by the coach, and we're doing that so we can get some clearance inside the trailer underneath where the trim goes. We're going to jack it up and chock some wood on the inside, which we'll show you in a few minutes. So we'll be getting the walls lifting away from the floor. A little crunching of the aluminum there. Not the happiest about that, but no big deal. Be able to straighten that out. I got an auto body hammer and dolly that'll take care of that. Alright, here we are on the inside. We pulled the trim off the side of the slide, and that is how we discovered we had a problem, because the trim was kind of water damaged on the bottom, and when we pulled it out, it seemed to be like buried deep into the carpet there, and I thought to myself, it shouldn't kind of be below the floor level. That's where we got the idea that we have a problem. And you can see how our I don't know if I can get a good angle here for you. but you can see how the floor is broken. I hope. Let's see. It shows up good enough. But anyway, this area is just way down, and this is way higher, so it's broken because it's all rotted out. We got the bolts cut off, carriage bolts coming through. You can see we're kind of peeking inside now. We got our chocks on the inside. You can see all the way through inside the coach now pretty much. But one thing we had to do here now is the electric. There's a screw we had to release for a clamp here. Electric goes up inside the wall here for the lights and the beds that are in there. And that's part of the Achilles heel here. They put a hole in the Darko for the electric to go up. Water runs down the side, kind of wicks along the bottom before it drips, and it soaks into here, causing damage. And they had run one screw in the middle of this plywood, to hold up the center, and went right through the Darko, put a hole. So same thing, water's wicking down in the rain, kind of wicks along, goes up in that hole, and over 12 years, it adds up to a soggy bottom. But since there's beds in here, they just ran one screw. They weren't worried about people walking, because it's just a little trundle bed, slides underneath the low bed. So really no weight ever going in there. So, but we're getting pretty close now to pulling the floor out. I got to disconnect this electric. There's a real heavy spring that pulls this back, so when the slide goes in and out, it keeps it from drooping. But I found that one thing I did is I just cut part of the spring, because you'll drive yourself crazy trying to get that loop off of the electric on the spring end. Maybe you'll have better luck than I did. I just clip it, and I'm going to just use some heavy duty zip ties and reconnect it to the spring. This trailer really just sits here all the time, so it's not an on the road trailer, so I'm a little less worried about some of these features because they're not going to be subjected to a lot of transportation. So now we got to get this wire undone. We're going to go inside. You can see the wires in there coming up from the bottom, and I'm just going to clip them. Then I can pull this sheath down through and out, and we'll do a repair on them in a little while. And here it comes. We're starting to pull it out. It just dropped away on the inside. We had to kind of tuck the carpet flaps in a bit. That was giving us some resistance on the inside. But here it goes. Here we are. We got the floor out. Got it laying on the grass here. See where we're at. Got the well, not quite see the bottom. But that's the whole floor. And we're going to have to take the carpet off of it and tack it down to our new assembly. But yeah, you can see how this is just gone here. This floor is just shot, and that's why that corner of the RV was a problem. So if you have trouble getting your slides in and out on your RV, check this stuff, because that's what we started having a problem with. The slides would stall, it'd overheat the thermal switch in the motor, and you'd have to take it, push the button like 20 times to get the slides to go in and out. Electrically, we're looking at stuff, and we're going to find out it's going to be a lot of resistance when the floor is collapsed, on the end. Alright, the floor is out, and as you can see, we're looking underneath, and there's the lower berth. And you can see why we didn't try and remove the lower berth. You can see the screw there. It's mounted from the outside. See, a lot of that stuff with these RVs, stuff's mounted from the outside, so it makes it pretty hard to, get it apart from the inside. You can see the slides for the little trundle bed. We sprayed the wood on the underside and our black fabric. So we sprayed the surfaces on both materials to be mated. We use this 3M high strength. It's called inverted because it only sprays upside down, so that's something to keep in mind, which worked great, with it laying on the floor. And our weather conditions is only a few minutes, and was tacky. they tell you to check it with your knuckle and just kind of touch it. If it doesn't stick to your knuckle, come off with it. It's ready to go. Okay, just got our electric back up through the new floor. It's just kind of hanging out of the sheath right now because I just kind of made a splice out here in space. Gonna have to tuck it all back up through the sheath. And there's a spring hanging there in the background that holds onto this sheath and you know, helps it come in and out, you know, with the slide so the cable doesn't droop. But pretty nice little connectors here. They're called Molex Permaseal connectors, and they're crimp connectors. And you put your wires in each end, crimp it tight with your crimpers, and then you use a heat gun on it, and it seals really nice. I don't think I got the resolution with this camera. Oh, there we go. I got close. See how a little bit of seal comes out on the very end there? Right at the end where my fingertip is. It's trying to focus on my hand. There we go. But yeah, there's like a jelly in there that also comes out and seals when you've shrunk this down with your heat gun. So it's really, really slick connector. These got them here, the 16 to 14 gauge Molex Permaseal butt connectors, and a while ago I had gotten them from WayTechWire.com. Maybe other places for them too, but they really work fantastic. Really nice little connection there. We were able to slide the new floor underneath, so it's looking good. Ran a couple of screws in, making sure we don't poke through the Darko on the bottom. Got all of our carriage bolts in now. Those are going all the way through to the through the toe plate of the wall. We're mounting our little 1/2-inch board here that's covered with Darko. It's kind of a backer for the aluminum that's going to be hanging down here. So now we're going to put the aluminum back on and start working on the corner trims here. So, got some neat stuff for that. Okay, here we are. We got the corner all put back together. All the aluminum. So now we're going to put the corner sealing tape on. And our corner bead, corner trim back on. So, just used a couple of screws. The heads, they're below the high spots here. So the heads won't even be a problem with the trim put on. We're going to be caulking from the edge of the trim and everything, so wasn't going to do anything fancy. We weren't going to buy a staple gun, you know, $100 for the gun, sales tax, staples, and before you know it you're at $150. I just used some aluminum nails through some of the existing staple holes, holding in place. So once this corner piece is on and screwed on, it's not going to go anywhere. Alright, we installed the corner wrap. Goes all the way up. It's like an adhesive tape. Works really nice. Very, very tacky. Gotta be careful. Really, it's a two-person job. Someone helps unroll it off of the roll, and there's like a plastic that goes in between the roll layers. Someone's got to peel that back. But yeah, use some of this 50mm 2-inch, and worked really nice. The fabric stays on there. Some people may think, oh, I gotta pull the fabric off. You don't. The high-tack adhesive side goes on the inside. I followed the edge. I could see the ghost of my old trim. The 2-inch really fit perfect around there, and man, it's really stuck on there. Now we're gonna caulk the inside of the channel as the secondary line of defense, as this company mentions on their video for installing this tape. It's a really good video, and we'll screw this trim on and be getting pretty much done with this corner. So this is the finished slide repair. It's all done, and we put a little bit of flashing on here because we leave this thing sitting open all season, and the rain has a tendency to wick down here and get underneath this Darko sometimes. And the Achilles heel of these things is right here. You can see that there's a power line going right up through here, and this is where all the trouble began way back when. And when they were using just the OSB board, instead of plywood in a lot of these trailers. That OSB just soaks up water like there's no tomorrow. So even though we've got that caulked up real good and everything, you know, since we leave the slides out for the season, we put like a little bit of that foil tape to act like a flashing to deflect the water away. But yeah, we've done both our slides and we're real happy with how they turned out, and hopefully these videos will be helpful for you too.